Okay. So with this, I will call the meeting to
Are you
order.
still in the meeting or did you leave the
No, I'm
meeting?
still in the
Oh,
meeting.
look, you're upside down now.
Oh,
Nice.
That's
But
good.
we have more options, I think.
It's streaming live on YouTube. Wonderful.
And we're upside down. Can I see this for a second?
Yeah.
Let's just leave the freaking meeting for a minute.
And you're not muted, Greg.
Recording in progress.
Okay, it looks like Elizabeth joined, so we still have a quorum. So I'm gonna get this show on the road here. So it's 10:05 a.m. and December 2nd, Council on Housing meeting. So I'm calling it to order, and with that, I'll call on folks. Please introduce yourselves. Tim.
Which one, Mike?
Oh, whoops, Tim Melia.
Tim Melia, Catholic Charities representing the youth and young adult homelessness.
Okay, Tim Barrett.
Tim Barrett, Walla Walla Valley MPO SRTPO.
Okay, Elizabeth Chamberlain.
Good morning, Elizabeth Chamberlain, City of Walla Walla.
Okay, Lydia.
Good morning, Lydia Caudill, Community Development Block Grant Coordinator, City of Walla Walla.
Okay, Anne Marie.
Hi, everyone. It's Anne Marie Zelcherine, YWCA, representing Domestic Violence Voices.
Craig.
Craig Vohweiler, Walla Walla Alliance for the Homeless, representing homeless and housing.
Yep, got it.
Okay, Randy Hinchcliffe.
Randy Hinchcliffe, City of Waitsburg.
Okay, Kimberly Powell.
Sorry, I'm slow this morning. Kimberly Powell, attorney with Northwest Justice Project.
Okay, thank you. Rachel Elfenbein.
Hi, this is Rachel Elfenbein. I'm the advocacy coordinator with Community Council.
Okay, Sam.
Sam Jackal, homeless housing coordinator with the Walla Walla County Department of Community Health.
Okay, Commissioner Tompkins.
Commissioner Greg Tompkins here, Walla Walla County.
Okay, thank you. And I'm Mike Ristella, chair of this group and city administrator for City of College Place. Okay, thank you. So for item number 2, approval of the October 28th, 2020-21 minutes, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the October 28th minutes.
Okay, thank you.
This is Craig, I second.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Then item number 3, approval of the November 16th, 2021 minutes. I will entertain a motion.
This is Tim Barrett, I move.
Okay, there's a move on floor. Is there a second?
I don't know if it was me moving or second, but I'll do either one.
Okay, well, Tim started, you could second, okay. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, item number 4, House Bill 1406, recommendations of Board of County Commissioners. Sam?
Yeah, so we were unable to take action on this previously, but for the interlocal agreement for House Bill 1406, it is stated in there that on an annual basis, the Council on Housing provides a recommendation regarding those funds. Last year, the recommendation was to continue to allow the funds to accrue. And as you can see on the agenda, the ending fund balance for last year is on there close to $108,000. And then the balance so far for 2021 is around $105,000. So the total balance to date, and that's as of October, is $213,000.
Okay, thank you for that status update. Is there any comments from anyone on the board on this? The only thing I would say now that the balance is north of 200,000, we are getting in the neighborhood of where I think you could potentially do like a RSQ or something to potentially see about partnering with a provider to do some housing. Because if you pair that like with Opportunity Zone and EB5, that would be enough of a down payment to make something happen, based on my experience from Beaver then. So I'll just throw that out there.
Have we talked about, because I wasn't on the Council on Housing, I don't believe, when we initially set up House Bill 1406. Have we outlined any kind of mini strategic plan or criteria of how we want to look at allocating that funding? And if we haven't, is that something we should maybe tackle at the first of the year? Recommend that we just bank it for now and then look at doing that first quarter of 2022.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I don't believe we set up prioritization goals at all, because we were waiting to see to what level this thing would be banked. So I do think that is a good idea within the first quarter to develop some sort of strategy and then go from there.
Yeah, I think the plan was to use that regional housing action plan and the 5-year plan to determine, what the recommendations were and what the greatest needs were, and then for that to then inform discussion and decisions around it.
Okay. Is there any further comments from anyone on the board on this topic? Okay, hearing none, I'll just say we'll have this as a topic at the next meeting in January, so we can start discussing strategies as it relates to those two plans. So Sam, please make sure this shows up on the agenda item for January.
Okay, and I think we might need an action, like a documented action for a annual recommendation too.
Okay, so if we need a motion now, I will entertain one.
I move that we continue to bank the House Bill 1406 funds and have the Council on Housing look at kind of goals and objectives for spending the dollars in first quarter 2022.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments?
I don't know if this, Mike, I might bring this up under other business, but perhaps I'm always in favor of a conversation like that being more productive around a actual table versus a virtual table.
Yeah.
So I might bring that up under other business.
Okay, sounds good. Any other comments before I call for a vote? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, item number 5, ESG-CV funding request. Sam Jackal and Craig Bullweiler. Floor is yours.
Yeah, and we had shared this during the last meeting, but again, there wasn't enough, we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't take action. But there is a funding request from the Alliance for the Homeless to continue supporting daytime operations through the duration of the ESG-CV grant, which goes through September 2022. The daytime operations, the decision to support those with the initial Commerce grant was when the Stay Home, Stay Safe orders were in place, and it proved to be effective in reducing community spread, as well as avoidable ER visits. So when the ESG-CV funding came, the decision to continue supporting those operations was made initially through March of this year and then extended twice again. And so the funding request, I can reshare my screen, is here, and I have adjusted it ever so slightly because the funding request was made through 2022, and this grant only goes through September of 2022. There are some funds that that we had set aside. And what I might just do is share my whole screen so I can show a couple of different things. Always makes me nervous to share my whole screen. But that's all right. So here is essentially what the funds are looking like and what has happened with the funds. So originally when we received the contract, and normally Walla Walla County does not receive ESG funds that come from HUD and then through Commerce. It's based on a formula, but these dollars were allocated through the CARES Act. And so we did receive an ESG CV contract that was, and didn't do anything with it because we knew an amendment was coming with more dollars, and had one budget adjustment to continue supporting those daytime operations, and then another budget adjustment to support more staffing for rapid rehousing, case management, and rapid rehousing provided by BMAC. We had as a group, and there was the ESG CV work group that met several times to make these determinations and provide recommendations to the Council on Housing. That work group hasn't met again, and just for expediency purposes, wanted to bring this request to the whole council. These prevention dollars that were set aside are not, oops, there's 3 lines there. And it was really just prevention rent assistance and prevention other financial assistance because of the eviction rent assistance program, the Treasury rent assistance program, and now eviction rent assistance program 2.0. These prevention dollars are not dollars we can even really use, and so there's definitely flexibility there, as well as some staffing challenges initially. With BMAC, there's a little bit of flexibility with some of these funds to then support the continued daytime operations at the sleep center through September of 2022 using ESG CV dollars. There is an added challenge in that we are expected to have a spend out plan and expected to spend 80% of these dollars by March, the end of March 2022, which would leave us only 20% of the dollars. And I know that things have really geared up at with BMAC, with the rapid rehousing program, and with street outreach. But it will be something that we'll have to be strategic about in terms of only having about 20%. HUD has not proven to be very flexible with that spend out timeline, even though the grant was extended. So I know that might be a lot of information. Do folks have any questions? Or Craig, or Liz or Kate, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'd just like to add that keeping the sleep center open 24/7 is important for the community. And this is the funding for that. And it looks like there's more than enough money in the ESG CV funds to cover that. So I don't see an issue.
And from the BMAC perspective, in terms of some funding going over, we also think having the sleep center open 24 hours has been really helpful in a lot of ways. So I'm glad that this is going to be an option.
Absolutely. This is Kate. I echo that.
Sam, a question and then a comment. My question is, with the spending requirement by March, can we show that the funding has been obligated? Since obviously I don't know if all the staffing would be paid out by the end of March, since this is going through September, but can we demonstrate to HUD that, hey, we've obligated these funds, they will be spent by the through the life of the grant? Would that be sufficient?
That is a good question. And I'm certainly willing to look into that. One of the challenges is having to go through Commerce to ask those questions and get responses. And I'm sure Craig remembers the amount of back and forth and the amount of time that these conversations took just to get where we are. But I'm certainly willing to put together a spend out plan that demonstrates that. And I think I'm hopeful that it will be feasible since the amount of costs for the shelter case management and shelter operations has been consistent over time, that will be enough evidence to demonstrate that. Because yes, one of my concerns is that we have these programs and then come, March, the end of March or come April, that things kind of have to start ramping down. So, and it is, I think, COVID dollars and assistance are great for the community, but also some added challenges there. But I will certainly include that in the first spend out plan that I share with Commerce.
Great. And then, of course, my comment is obviously from the city's perspective, we support the 24/7 operations at the sleep center. And I believe I shared at our last meeting that the way I've structured our agreement with the Alliance and the city's commitment that while these dollars would go through September, the city is covering the balance for October, November, December of 2022 with our ARPA funds.
Yeah, and I do want to add that there have been some of the back and forth that has occurred previously and that has restarted in light of this with Commerce is some of the HUD designations for the HUD. So those are some things that I'm navigating on the back end. We have a signed letter from Dr. Kaminsky and also have written into our earlier COVID-19 homeless housing plan that was required during the Safe Start reopening, the importance of supporting daytime operations at shelters and keeping folks in place, making sure that folks are fed and their other health needs are met, so that because we know it's a vulnerable population and there would be negative health outcomes if an outbreak were to happen. So yeah, this has been a fun one, the ESGCV dollars.
Great, looks like a very worthwhile proposal. Looks good. So is there any other comments about this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we support the Walla Walla Alliance for the Homeless proposal to reallocate the ESGCV dollars as requested.
Okay, is there a second?
Randy, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, next item, item number 6, other business. Does anyone on this commission have any other business for the group?
I do. I'd like to propose to the group, especially when we're doing conversations around anything around funding allocations or discussion about how we want to set up any process, procedures, criteria, etc. Perhaps doing those meetings in person. As I said, I think some of those conversations are a little more productive when we're around an actual table versus the virtual room. So I wanted to toss that out and get the group's thoughts on that.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'd agree too.
I'm curious also about I know that we do work groups come and go. I think it can be helpful to have some productive conversation and groundwork happening and documents put together that helps to kind of synthesize information prior to the larger group discussion. And I'm wondering, because we did just submit the annual update on the 5-year plan, and So I know that there's also been discussion around having some, more intentional facilitated conversations. But I'm more or less naming these things because I think that it'd be great to really map out which conversations need to happen and kind of the timing of all of that.
I have a question, and because I think that we should be meeting in person when we can. And I don't know what each agency or institution is doing for their own protocols, but I know that there's still lots of safety precautions, regarding, COVID and the health and safety of all people. Are there standards that need to be met as far as, just making sure that people realize that, hey, if they're sick, stay home. If they're, vaccination status, I don't know. I don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be, but do we need to adopt some of those standards if we are going to go to in-person meetings?
Well, I mean that through the governor's proclamations, there are essentially rules and stuff for both OPMA and then PRA. So basically, the key thing is making sure everyone follows the safety guidelines, which naturally you wear the masks and all of that, but then also the distancing requirements, and then regardless, per that governor proclamation, you still have to have like a hybrid meeting. So even like if meeting in person, you still have to provide that ability for the people to see it online. So through Zoom or some other means. So that's the key there. Because like in College Place, the council still is meeting just through Zoom, mainly because of the size of our council chambers and our the really old technology. We don't have the ability, although we are getting it. So we're going to be able to go to hybrid soon. But that's really all you have to follow. So I mean, just as long as we have some sort of hybrid camera unit in there and people are wearing their masks, we're pretty much, and we follow the distancing requirements, we're good to go.
And the city's happy to host the meetings for hybrid because we, have the capability, since that's how we're handling our council meetings. And so if that is helpful to facilitate us meeting in person, I'm happy to offer our council chambers for that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if we could use your council chambers for that, because luckily you were ahead of the 8 ball when you got the new AV system in prior to COVID. I wish we would have done that, but oh well. Is there
Hey,
any
Mike,
yeah.
Greg Tompkins too. If there's any conflicts, appreciate Liz offering that, but if there's any conflicts, I'm sure we can use our chambers as well because we're all set up.
Okay, well, that's great. So Sam, I would say we definitely getting a meeting set up like next month to essentially go over the prioritization or strategy for the House Bill 1406 funds. We should definitely plan on having the meeting like in person. So is there any other comments for other business?
Mike, do you think that HB 1406 meeting should be the entire council, or could it be a work group?
I think it could be a work group. Does anyone have strong feelings either way?
I think it could be more productive if it was a work group.
Okay, so yeah, I'm for work group. Who wants to volunteer to be on said work group? Okay, I see Craig. I see Tim Melia.
I would volunteer.
Okay, I see Rachel. I'll volunteer as well to be on it. Anyone else?
I think it's implied that I'll be
Yeah.
on it, but
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so basically, let me look through my scribble here. So basically for work group, we have Craig, Tamelia, Rachel, myself, and then Sam on it. So that'll be the work group. So Sam, maybe if you could send out like a doodle poll or something so we could get the date nailed down on that and get it in the calendar, that would be good.
good deal. Do you all want some dates before the end of the year or just early January?
Let's see. Here's the thing. I would say if it's in the next 2 weeks, I could mean the next 2 weeks, but basically from like around December 20th through January 2nd, I'm going to be between Spokane Valley and Chicago. So yeah.
I'd prefer January. The December is pretty busy for me.
Okay. Got it. I'm going to send that out soon though, so that nobody forgets, and we'll get it on the calendar because
Yep.
January is going to be here before we know it.
Exactly. Okay, well, that item sounds like it's taken care of. Does anyone else have any other business for good of the order?
I actually do. So I know that we had just added a public schools or education representative with Christy Kratulis, and I know Pam Clayton was coming in her stead, although we don't allow voting by proxy. And there's been some questions on the on their role, and so I don't know if there's any decision that has to be made today, but just kind of wondering about better ways to engage those other sectors, or thoughts from the group on that.
Does anyone have comments on that?
I do. This is Anne Marie.
Yeah.
I'm going to get his name wrong and his organization wrong. But the group, there's a nonprofit that is working on like interfacing with the schools and the community.
Communities and schools.
That's it. Yeah. What about somebody from that organization?
If I can just jump in, I maybe you're referring to Ruben Alvarado, Anne Marie, and I know he has experience with housing issues in the Tri-Cities area, and so he is familiar with affordable housing issues and has worked in the field before.
Yeah, that's exactly the person I was thinking of, Ruben, and great to know that he has housing experience. Super.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Any further comments on this topic?
Well, Kathy Covey has left us, and Kate Daniels is now the CEO of BMAC. And I would suggest that if she's interested and willing, that she would be a good member of this group.
She's on the call.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Craig.
Oh, Rachel, did you have something to add?
Oh, just seconding
what
Craig said.
Okay. Okay, any other comments for this topic or in general?
Well, I guess I just wanted that clarification with, Craig recommending that Kate join. Kate's already on the call. So is that just an automatic transfer from Kathy to Kate? I know Liz Guerra is on the call too. How does that work?
There's usually a motion, and then the group takes action to decide to instate that person as a voting member, which I think we could do now or put on the January agenda.
I make a motion that Kate Daniels become the voting member from her sector, her organization, however we have that structured.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, well, welcome to council.
Thank you.
Any other comments or things for other business?
Anne Marie, would you be willing to explore a conversation with Ruben and his interest and capacity?
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Sam, I just wanted to follow up with you too. Do you feel like was there enough discussion about how to engage some of these other sectors? And are there other sectors that need further engagement? I know it seems like we've had some conversations in the past about healthcare. And I don't know if there's other representation that we need to have on the council too. So I just wanted to see if your need had been met from when you raised the question, if we needed further discussion or not.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful. And Anne Marie, thanks for throwing that out there, because I think an entity like that is, when you're, working in system level work, it does make sense and it aligns than pulling directly from the schools. But I do think, healthcare, I think also, like the correction side of things. But I wonder if, if the House Bill 1406 work group and other work groups, or, if we are able to have facilitated conversations around these things, if some of that can be part of those conversations, is how to better engage and inform. I think it can be hard because some of this is like another language. And so making sure that things are being discussed and addressed in a way that meets different, levels of knowledge and whatnot is a challenge. And I think that's a definite area for improvement.
Okay.
We also have to make sure that we can have quorums for meetings,
Yeah.
as we found out in November.
Yeah. And I know that there was a bylaws work group before I moved into my role, and I wonder if that work group may want to reform and consider reviewing the voting by proxy component as well. The Commerce Balance of State Steering Committee allows voting by proxy as long as the voting member notifies Commerce of who their proxy will be prior to the meeting, so that they're announced.
I would urge that work group maybe get reconstituted to evaluate that, just because, as we saw with the November meeting, that put us at a standstill, and we need to keep moving on some of these items. So I think voting by proxy is something that would be good. Because I know in limited circumstances, we allow that with some of the advisory commissions of the city. Because, for example, the Economic Development Commission, and a lot of those business owners are super busy. So we had to allow that, because otherwise you could have a time where you couldn't get quorum for a couple months. So, and we needed to keep items moving. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Okay, any other comments or anything for other business? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So with that, we will go to item number 7, which is adjourned. So we will adjourn this meeting at 10:39 a.m. on December 2nd. So with that, thanks everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Thank you. Welcome, Kate.